So the feds have come out and said that they're going to implement a carbon tax on all the provinces that don't currently have something that meets their standards. There are a number of provinces that have filed lawsuits against the federal government on that. We're up to 4 right now. We expect that there'll be 2 more that join it. When you look at what we're doing provincially here in Ontario, yes, we have cancelled cap and trade. We're going through the process right now of cancelling the Green Energy Act, and in the next 2 weeks' time, the Made in Ontario plan for climate change will be released as well. And I think that when you see all of those things come together, it's a comprehensive plan that will make a difference in this province.
See, at the end of the day, I think it's a voluntary thing. The question is how much do we volunteer to try to put a challenge before our industries and our populations to kind of reduce the footprint and take what actions they can do in terms of climate change and just good environmental policy and things like that. I guess the hard part is as fast as we can challenge or repeal something, we really need to see what that replacement looks like, because in that vacuum, a lot of speculation, and therein lies the communication challenge.
One of the things that we learned, though, when we went to committee with cancelling of cap and trade is in the cement industry itself in Ontario, if we make some small regulatory changes, that would eliminate 2 million tons of greenhouse gases. That's something that wasn't talked about at all with the Liberals. And in the end, actually we end up with stronger concrete and stronger cement. It's a win-win all the way around. And we found, going through committee that way, that there were a number of different industries where there were significant reductions in greenhouse gases that weren't going to fall under cap and trade, and it was all because regulations didn't allow them to make the changes that would benefit the environment. Yeah. That's the approach we're taking.
But it's also mass transit, it's high occupancy vehicle lanes on the expressways, it's taxes on gasoline and energy, it's getting natural gas where it wasn't before. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this as we go forward.
There's no simple one solution to it. It's a lot of things that come together that culminate to a big difference. And if you take a look at any one move as an individual move, sometimes it doesn't make sense to you that this is going to make a difference, but when you combine all of those moves together, suddenly the puzzle all comes together.
Speaking of making a difference, Bill 47 to repeal Bill 148, the Open for Business Act, continues to move up the legislative approval process. I saw some recent communication from the Chamber of Commerce that gave its opined on its advice to the government. Particularly longer implementation runway, just more time for industry, retailers, etc., to kind of gear up for that. Some income tax relief for low-wage earners and how that works its way through. They even asked that the the Basic Income Guarantee Pilot Program would continue to, at least from an experiment perspective, create some definitive results and those kinds of things. Any word to our viewers about where we're going with that, and what are the steps ahead, and what answers you might have to some of those observations by agencies like the Chamber of Commerce?
So a couple of things then with Bill 47. Let's start off with apprenticeship, actually. I think that one's probably the easiest one to deal with. We will be reducing or changing the ratios, so it will be 1-to-1. One of the things that we found with the way the Bill 148 worked was plumbing, for example. If you were a small plumbing company, you really couldn't have an apprentice because your worker would be considered as one of the 1-to-1. If you did have an apprentice, you couldn't have someone there as a laborer for you until you had 2 other tradespersons. So you needed to have 4 people working for you before you could have
critical mass
that labor. Yeah. With this change, we're removing the laborers from the equation, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio. So the small companies, like in rural Ontario, that aren't big enough that they need to have 20 plumbers, but they want to grow from a single person enterprise into a 3 or 4, they have that opportunity. We have a massive shortage right now in skilled labor, and this is one of the ways that we can open that up. Some of the other things that Bill 47 does, no one in the world is saying that people shouldn't have a living wage. That's not what we're saying at all. We're simply taking a different approach to it. You have 2 ways that you can do it. You can increase someone's income and hope that costs don't go up, or you can decrease costs, and that does exactly the same thing. It gives people a raise without increasing costs, and that's the approach that we're taking instead. What we're saying is that we need to keep inflation in check. We need to make sure that people are able to afford the things that they need to afford. And by doing that, we're not increasing the cost of everyday items like food, like hydro, like clothing. We believe that that's a better approach. It's a more sound approach because it means that you can go further with that dollar.